All right, welcome to the broadcast. I'm in the company of Paul Wakoli, who will be the sign language interpreter for the night, and I go by the name DAPHNE ORINA. We start off with some international news where Kenya and Guinea-Bissau have signed 3 agreements to deepen economic and social ties between the two countries. The bilateral pacts, which included an agreement to establish a joint commission for cooperation (JCC), was signed after Presidents Uhuru Kenyatta and Umaro Sissoco Embalo of Guinea-Bissau led their delegations in bilateral talks at State House, Nairobi. The agreement on JCC aims at establishing a framework for bilateral consultations and cooperations between the two countries in various fields, including political, economical, commercial, scientific, education, cultural, and technical matters. The other 2 agreements signed were a memorandum of understanding on the establishment of political and diplomatic consultations between the two countries, and another one between the Foreign Service Academy of Kenya and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Guinea-Bissau.
Your Excellency, as I stated earlier, despite the fact that we have had good and cordial relations, we want to see these deepened even further. And one way is to see how together we can improve on our trade relations. Trade volumes between Kenya and Guinea-Bissau are extremely low.
Guinea-Bissau held the presidency of the United Nations Security Council in September 1996, at a time when Kenya was also a member. Our 2 countries worked closely for the maintenance of international peace and security and reinforced Africans' advocacy for reform of the Security Council and the more equitable representation of our continent.
Elsewhere, the Ministry of Interior has heightened security across the country ahead of the forthcoming general elections. According to the Interior PS, Dr. Karanja Kibicho, the ministry is getting briefs and evaluating the information they are getting from the various sectors from the lowest level. While assuring peaceful elections, Kibicho has warned politicians against hiring goons during the political rallies as they will harm each other. He was accompanied by PS Infrastructure Professor Paul Maringa, Secretary PDU Andrew Wakaihiu, and Central Region Commissioner Esther Maina.
Kama mnavojua, tuko na uchaguzi mwezi ujao tarehe 9, na kama Wizara ya Interior tumekuwa tukitembea kuongea na watu wetu ndio tufanye evaluation ya kabisa vile hao wenyewe wamejipanga juu ya kuwa na uchaguzi wenye amani na wenye itakuwa ina vurugu yoyote.
Kakamega High Court Judge Justice Patrick J. Otieno today dismissed a petition challenging Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala's eligibility to run in the August 9th elections. This was after 2 petitioners moved to court in June 2022 to block Malala's gubernatorial candidature over allegations that he doesn't have a valid bachelor's degree. Malala will be on the ballot as the Amani National Congress candidate for Kakamega County gubernatorial seat, and he will face off against Fernandez Barasa of ODM, among others. It is a blow to ex-Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko as Supreme Court dismisses appeal on his impeachment, ruling that it was constitutional. This comes after Sonko was cleared by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) yesterday, after the High Court ordered the electoral agency to gazette his name among the gubernatorial candidates. The decision locks him out of Mombasa County gubernatorial race. The decision also means that the former Nairobi governor will never be cleared to vie for any elective seat or be appointed to a state office in Kenya. Over to the campaign trails in the country. For the fourth day running, the Azimio team has camped in the Coast region in a bid to woo voters to rally behind its presidential candidate Raila Odinga in his fifth stab at the presidency. Today, Raila Odinga led his Azimio campaigns in Kilifi County, where he promised to fight corruption if he clinches power after the August polls. Listening.
As the campaign period nears the home stretch, the Azimio la Umoja Brigade has traversed Kilifi County, drumming up support for their presidential candidate Raila Odinga. Speaking during the event, Raila stated that war on graft will be a priority in his government. He also criticized his opponents' huge donation during fundraisers, saying that the donations are process of corruption.
Mwaona wanakuja kwenu kufanya harambee. Anataka kufanya harambee kwa vikundi ya kina vijana $5,000,000. Kundi ya kina mama $5,000,000. Ati gari ya shule, basi ya shule $10,000,000. Ati gari ya askofu $10,000,000. Kila mwezi jamani anatoa harambee $1,100,000, mshahara yake ni $2,000,000 peke yake. Yingine natoa wapi? Yenu ile ambayo ameiba, sio? Sivyo? Sasa zimasema ndio sababu mpaka tupigane ufisadi.
On her part, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya presidential running mate Martha Karua vowed to fight corruption, stating that sealing all corruption loopholes shall enable Raila's administration to lower the cost of living.
Na mimi mwenyewe amenipatia kazi tukiingia na naona dalili Mwenyezi Mungu akipenda na nyinyi wananchi mkipenda tutakalia hizo viti.
Raila was accompanied by several Azimio leaders who asked the electorate to vote for the Azimio ticket so that they form government after the August election.
Mimi siwezi kubali kamwe kwamba mtu amezaliwa hapo, amezaa hapo, pengine amejukuu hapo, ametukuu hapo, amezika hapo, ameoza hapo, alafu waje mtu ambie hapa si pako my friend, wewe wacha mchezo wewe. Tumeelewana? Na hiyo ndo tabia ya hapa kwetu. Wewe unakaa unaambiwa hii shamba si yako, ya nani? Wewe unileta wewe hapa. Tumeelewana? Wewe uniletwa hapa. Si kwako. Tumeelewana? So nimekuja hapa kutoa kauli kwamba mtu yoyote ajitayarishe my friend, na mimi sitaki kujua my friend ukiniletea noma nitakuletea noma.
With 24 days to go, the Azimio team has intensified its campaigns to ensure they emerge victorious in the upcoming general elections. Brian Wekesa, KUTV.
Thank you, Wekesa. Elsewhere, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, has rejected political party lists. The rejected parties are therefore required to review the list within 7 days from the date of rejection by the Electoral Commission as guided by the law and resubmit the said list on or before the 22nd of July this year.
With 24 days to the national general elections, IEBC, the body mandated to run elections, has rejected a political parties list containing 79 parties. According to Article 90 of the Constitution, the Commission shall be responsible for the conduct and supervision of elections for the allocation of special seats by use of party lists. Some of the parties rejected are United Democratic Alliance Party, Orange Democratic Movement Party, Agano Party, Safina Party, Chama cha Mashinani Party, Muungano Party, and the Independent Party, among others. The political parties list was rejected because it did not comply with the requirement of the Commission as guided in Section 34(6) of Elections Act 2011 that provides that the party list submitted to the Commission shall be in accordance with the Constitution and the nomination rules of respective political parties. The political parties are required to comply with this requirement, and failing to comply will be deemed rejected. Upon receiving the revised list, the Commission will publish the list in the newspapers and invite any complaints from nominees or interested parties. Imbinda Masi, KUTV.
Thank you, Marcy. Now, politics aside, police in Embu County have shot dead 2 suspected gangsters in a fierce gang fight after a group of 4 suspects who were on a theft mission in Embu were accosted by police officers who were on patrol, while 2 others escaped. A manhunt has now been started by the police for the 2 escapees.
According to Embu County Commissioner Edison Nyale, the 4 had broken into several shops in Embu North before police rounded them at Njukiri area on their way to Embu town. Nyale said police had tried to stop the suspects who didn't oblige despite being flagged down. He added that 2 of the suspected robbers died in the shootout while 2 others escaped.
Mnakumbuka juzi tulishika bunduki na wizi ambao ulikuwa umefanyika, na ni kama kwamba ni wiki hii tu, wiki haijaisha vile, na tukaahidi kwamba tutapambana nao na tayari tuendelee kupambana nao. Ndio hawa, na hata hiyo risasi, hiyo bunduki ambayo imetumika kuchallenge askari, hiyo pia tutaifuata, hiyo pia tutaipata, na hata wengine wenzao wote ambao wanahusika basi bado chao kiko motoni.
He also stated that the gang had been terrorizing locals in a few areas of Embu, stealing livestock and other items from locals, and that a few items from the burglary, including crates of beer, shoes, bags, and other items were recovered. He added that the Toyota Fielder KCH 958D they were driving was covered in a cow dung to hide its identity from the police. The county commissioner declared that they would not give up until all criminal suspects were brought to justice.
Jamii zao na wananchi ambao wamekusanyika hapa wengi wamewatambua, na wametambua kiwango cha kwamba hawa ni waizi sugu, ni majambazi sugu. Hawa wawili wamesumbua sana hapa. So kabla tujapata stakabadhi, tayari wananchi wamewatambua na tayari wamepongeza kazi nzuri serikali ambayo inaendelea na vitengo vya usalama katika Embu.
The suspects who have escaped with a gun have been urged to turn themselves into police by Embu County Commander Daniel Rukunga. Additionally, he has urged members of the public to be vigilant and to contact the police right away if they see something that concerns them.
Wale ambaye wanatekeleza, wanapenda kuvuna mali wayapanda, tuko sambamba na wao. Onyo langu ni kutoa kwa wale ambaye wametoroka na hiyo silaha. Warudishe kama wanataka amani, kama wanataka kuishi, warudishe hiyo silaha, kwa sababu silaha inaruhusiwa kwa wale ambaye serikali imepa cheti, ambaye ni askari na wale ambaye wameomba wakae naye ya kujilinda, lakini zile za uhalifu hazitakikani.
Their body parts were transported to Embu Level 5 Hospital mortuary and a manhunt was started for the suspects who escaped. This has happened at a time when Embu police officers have intensified a crackdown on illegal alcohol businesses, drugs, and the dismantling of gangsters who have been terrorizing locals in the county. Rose Gashanja, KUTV.
We now take a look at the COVID stats in the country, where 133 people have tested positive for COVID-19 from a sample size of 2,526 tested in the last 24 hours. The positivity rate is now at 5.3%. Total confirmed positive cases, therefore, are 336,578, 194 people have recovered. Therefore, the total number of recoveries stand at 329,316. No patient has succumbed to the disease. Therefore, cumulative fatalities remain at 5,668. Well, at that, we take another break. We're coming back with an interview on childhood trauma. Now, there's been a lot of talk on mental health related to adults, but tonight we are taking a look at childhood trauma. We'll be back after this.
Kenyatta University will hold its 51st graduation ceremony on Friday, 22nd July 2022 at the main campus along the Thika Superhighway. KUTV will provide live coverage of the graduation ceremony from 8 a.m. The graduation ceremony will also be streamed live on KUTV and KU website, Lola app, and all KU social media platforms. For more information, please contact the Office of the Registrar Academic on 020-870-3092 or 0786335111 or visit the KU website at www.ku.ac.ke. Kenyatta University, transforming higher education, enhancing lives.
Ndio tunaangazia jinsi ambavyo wewe unaweza kutumia nafasi finyu ambayo unayo nyumbani ili kuendeleza kilimo.
Imeniokoa space kubwa juu ukiweka kama nini moja inaweza chukua 80 to 100 plants. Huku umepanda vizuri na space ni mzuri.
Huanyin, that is welcome back in the Mandarin Chinese language. Now on this episode, it's a special edition where we are getting to understand more about the Mandarin Chinese language.
He taught me the beginner stage, which was about 3 months. After that, I quit, but you see, Discovery is still running at that time. You know, when you're beginning, there are so many things you don't know. That time you're not marketing, you don't know what to keep aside, what you need.
Today at Ubuntu Water Hub Africa to bring you smart water ATMs.
It took us 5 months to build the first 2 prototypes we had for the mini water ATMs, and that process ended in 2022 January. We've managed to do 70% of what we're using to outsource locally.
Typically a customer, if he has a tag, will come over to the water hub, tap his or her tag, then key in the amount of water that he or she will want to dispense, and then water will automatically dispense from the water hub.
In fact, the chronic viral hepatitis are the leading cause of liver cancer worldwide, and definitely also in this country, it is the leading cause. And so these are things that we must look out for, and actually we do even monitor those patients who have been found to have chronic hepatitis.
Now, Dr. that you said that hepatitis B is linked to hepatitis D. Do we also have other maybe diseases that maybe not even put you at a position where you can now contract hepatitis?
mtazamaji, kwenye mitindo ya kipwani. Kipindi ambacho kinahusu utamaduni wa kipwani. Hapa niko pwani. Hapa niko Watamu. Nitakuwa nakupa mambo matamu leo kwenye mitindo ya kipwani, kipindi ambacho kinahusu mambo yetu ya Uswahilini. Ndio maana nikazuru mkoa wa Pwani, niko kaunti ya Kilifi, kijiji kinachofahamika kama Magofu. Haya yote ni kwa udhamini wa Safina Beach Hotel ambao wamenileta hapa nikaweze kutangamana na wakazi. Ilioje mpenzi mtazamaji, tutakuwa tunapata mambo mengi sana kama vile dance. Kwa hivyo naomba tu kaweze kunipa jicho lako. Mambo yatakuwa ni bab kubwa kabisa.
Ziko dance ambazo tunacheza wakati wa harusi. Kuna wakati wa matanga. Kuna wakati wa mavuno.
Driving and riding without incidences on the road is such an amazing experience. But do you know while many road traffic crashes are avoidable, human behavior continues to be the leading cause. Speeding, lane indiscipline, drunk driving, distracted driving, failure to wear a helmet, and failure to use available pedestrian ways have been flagged by NTSA as the fatal 6 behaviors likely to lead to a fatal crash and serious injuries. As part of the Usalama Barabarani campaign, we request all road users to prevent these fatal 6 behaviors for their own safety and that of others. When driving, ensure your speed is within the stipulated limits, the road ahead is clear before overtaking. Stick to your lane, keep left unless carefully overtaking. You're well rested if driving on long distances, and you never drink and drive. Usalama Barabarani starts with you. Fika Salama. This message is brought to you by the National Transport and Safety Authority and the European Union.
To the Church Attraction. I'm your host Esther Becky.
And my name is DJ Tero.
We start you off with a word of prayer and get you started with a live transformational worship experience. Have our minds renewed by the word of God on the word segment.
And not forgetting new music za hii wiki, yani ndakuwa bado nawapatia pale wasanii wamekuwa kiwakali. So make sure manzo tune in because zitakuwa zina flow pia pale mixes kwa wingi, yani zitakuwa zina come through, and pia performance yani from our gospel artist hapa on Gospel Art
from 7 to
10 a.m. only on KUTV.
Welcome back, and let's now get straight into the conversation of the night. Childhood trauma is a medical, psychological, and public policy issue that causes immense consequences for both victims and society. Unfortunately, many parents believe that if a child is young enough, they won't remember any incident, but this is not the case. When left untreated, the effects of trauma often last into adulthood. Many adults who experience childhood trauma continue to showcase troubling symptoms into adulthood, many of which significantly affect their health and quality of life. Regardless of who, childhood trauma presents itself in adults, and the complications can be long-lasting, and diminishing mental health can burrow deep inside, contributing to chronic physical illness. Now tonight we have with us a mental health specialist who's going to tell us what exactly happens and do children really remember and how does that impact them in adulthood. Welcome to studio.
Thank you.
Kindly introduce yourself to our viewers. I know this is the second time we are having you here, but they have forgotten you. Introduce yourself to us and tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm actually delighted to be with you tonight. My name is Elizabeth Wanjugu Karanja, and I'm a psychiatric nurse working in Mathare Hospital. I'm also very passionate with mental health and psychiatry. So I'm very grateful to be with you.
Now we've been seeing a lot of mental health illness upsurge lately, but people are rarely talking about childhood trauma. Do children actually face childhood trauma? Perhaps we could start by you defining for us what childhood trauma is and some of the causes.
Thank you, DAPHNE. First of all, we need to know and actually understand who is a child. So, a child is any human being who is from 0 years to 18 years, and that is from below 18 years. That's the person we call a child. So with childhood conditions or trauma, this is what we also call it what do you call it? Okay. These are ADFAS. We call them ADFAS childhood experiences. Actually, children, they do remember what has been going on throughout their life. So we have some of the causes that may lead to childhood trauma. And we have the obvious ones, the ones especially those people think that they're just obvious. One is psychological. Then we have something we call physical, and we have sexual abuse. Otherwise, we have others that people never consider them as trauma per se, but in the real sense, they are trauma, and they cause trauma to the children. Some of them, they are like neglect. Children from this emotional, children get emotions, and if not addressed due to neglect of parents or guardians, they may lead to those traumas. Others, we have loss of parents, maybe both parents or even single, or even those who are under care of the guardians. They can also cause trauma. Another cause of trauma, we have sickness. There are those long-term sicknesses that children may suffer from, and this may also cause trauma, because sometimes they are even isolated. Maybe they have been hospitalized for long. That makes them be left in the hospitals alone, being taken care of the healthy workers, so away from their parents. Again, nowadays we are having very busy parents. So we leave our young ones to house girls or house helps. So this business, we are not able to be with our kids. In a way, we are traumatizing our children. Again, there are those families with so many siblings. Funny enough, they cause trauma because, let's say, for example, we have so many kids in the family. The parents are not able to recognize all of them at once. Right. So some of them feel that they are not loved. So they get lost in between. So they also cause those childhood traumas.
Let's look at that attention that the parents give to these many siblings. Is that to include the gifts or something of that sort?
Include?
I mean, when you're gifting a child, you buy for me shoes and you don't buy for my sister. That also causes trauma.
It causes trauma because now you see the other child will feel that myself I'm not loved. And maybe it is because of even the economy. You are not able to to buy gifts for all of them at once. So when you buy for one, you are not able to buy for the other one. They feel they are not loved.
And there is a point there that you mentioned about parents going away and not being able to monitor their children, as their children not feeling close enough and maybe sinking into this trauma. How can we help those parents to identify their children when they finally now come to realize now there's something off with this child, to identify? Give us some of the symptoms of trauma in children.
So much as we are working and we are very busy in this country, we need to take care of ourselves, our children, because we need them. They need us. And so some of the symptoms that our young ones will present with, sometimes, it depends with the age also. Because you see some, they kind of isolate themselves. You look at a child not willing even to talk. Sometimes they are crying. Okay, there is also irritability. They don't want to be talked to. Okay, again, they are also emotionally affected. So they are just withdrawn. Their moods go down, though mood is subjective, because it's what they will tell you how they are feeling. That's how we actually test mood.
But then many people tend to think that is the temperament of that child. Maybe they are like that, or that child is socially inactive, maybe inheritably. Now, that said, we have seen this child who's withdrawn from people and maybe attributing it to many factors that could be causing that child to be like that. How then do we differentiate between childhood trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder? Because this could be some kind of stress. Is it PTSD?
Now, childhood trauma, it graduates to post-traumatic stress disorder. This is because when we overlook, when we don't take care of those children, and especially parents, you can tell when your child is not well, when your child is withdrawn, when your child is isolated, you can tell. So if we just overlook and not take care of that child, it can go and step by step to post-traumatic disorder. So if not well treated early enough, that is the time it graduates now to PTSD. And therefore, we need to treat them as early as possible. This is by affirming ourselves to our young ones. Let us listen to our children. What are they going through? Because maybe some trauma, they have come up because of maybe what when you are leaving your children to house girls or house helps, maybe they have been defiled. You don't have time to listen to your young ones. You need to listen. We need to listen to them, and actually we need to try and solve those problems as early as possible.
That leads us to the impacts of these childhood trauma that is left unaddressed. You've mentioned, PTSD and all that. What are some of other extreme events that we expect from these unaddressed post-childhood trauma?
This brings me to now mental health, mental illness. If that child has been left untreated, this may lead to depression, it may lead to anxiety. Remember, if you don't give your child time to discuss whatever problems they are going through with you, they are just going to keep off from you. This will accelerate whatever problems they have, and it may lead to mental illnesses, may lead even to suicide. So, for us to assist our young ones so that they don't graduate to PSTD. Let us give them the required treatment. Let us give them an ear so that they can at least share what they have with us. Because everyone and every child needs to be listened to, and we should not neglect them.
Okay, let's now look at the medical side of this trauma, impact of trauma in the general body. What exactly does all this emotional torment do to somebody's health?
Okay, when during development of a child, we have something we call building blocks of the brain. These are called neurons. So when they are affected by the traumatic activities, the child loses that neuronal network. So when they are affected, when we expose them to the traumatic events, this child will even have delay in thinking, that is cognition, and the other networks will always be affected. That brings that child to a disability, because now they have delayed thinking, they have delayed of doing things. So we need to address this as early as possible and as fast as possible. Yeah.
So these can also contribute to, having ulcers and all those in very little children, and you wonder where they got it from.
Yeah.
Oh, well, now they know. Actually, that point on suicide is very, very paramount for parents to note and pay more attention to their children. Now let's look at the developmental impact of childhood trauma in adulthood. How exactly, now that we've mentioned it in childhood, how then do we then identify that this particular adult is actually having childhood trauma?
So, if the childhood trauma is not well addressed, it is being carried to adulthood. So, in adulthood, there is something we call victimhood thinking. That is, if you were a victim there before, you now kind of keep on thinking that you keep on thinking about that stigma, that something wrong went there before, and again you have carried it to your adulthood. So therefore, as adults, when we were children, we had no control of ourselves. But when we become adults, we have that potential of controlling ourselves. So we need to address and talk to these adults so that they don't carry on whatever problems they went through there before, and be able to move on, take life as usual, understand their problems. We also have passivity where adults, they don't like, when they had those traumas, they don't want to leave it down. You have to stop now thinking about what happened with you previously, but try and now come out of it. When you try to come out of those experiences as an adult now, because now you are thinking now like an adult, life must continue. So what should you do? You have to leave out whatever was happening, and that is why we are having all these counseling sessions. We have counseling centers, because we want people to take initiative of seeking advice, because alone you won't move. Yeah.
You mentioned, for instance, someone trauma inflicted via sexual assault. And now you are telling us that the adult needs to move on from that. But then what if a recurrent situation that prompted this trauma to come up in the first place happens to these adults? How then are they supposed to move on from that?
Okay, that's what I am saying, that life, in this life we are in, you expect anything anytime. But then even if you fall, you don't just stick there on the mud. You have to wake up and now see, this problem has come up to me. So what next? What should I do? Go seek for advice. And that is what we usually say and usually tell our clients, that can you look for a therapist who you are through with. Let that therapist who you can open up to, tell them whatever problems you are going through, discuss with them, work with them. Remember, this is not a one-day treatment or therapy. We have to work for days, months, depending on how we are taking on how we are taking it up.
You've been speaking about therapy, and I'm curious to know rather, are there other forms of treatment for trauma?
Therapy is, meaning of therapy is just treatment. So we have psychotherapy, that is now talking or interacting. That is one form of therapy. We have pharmacological, which in this one we mean medicine. So this is where we incorporate medicine if it is necessary, but it goes hand in hand. We have you have to be talked to, you have to take medication if necessary. Yeah.
Is there a point of beyond no return when you have this childhood trauma that has graduated into adulthood? Childhood trauma, I don't know how to combine the both. And then, is there a point to which now you cannot actually get well?
Okay, with trauma and with all that post-PSTD, you can get well. Because we have said it is not a matter of one day. It is not a one-day thing. So it will depend on how you are going to cope. And that is why we instill hope. As therapists, we instill hope in our clients. And we also need to understand them. We have to understand them for us to help them. With counseling with these therapists, we also offer them, we help them to experience now, at least to subside the pain. It should go down, so that at least they can cope with life. Because now we cannot just be desperate that this thing cannot go. It can go with proper counseling, with competent therapists, and as well with the client themselves.
There is this fear of therapy in Kenya being so expensive. How do you advise this person to go about this procedure of healing now that, for instance, they are not so close with their parents, they have socially disconnected from the society, and now there is this treatment they cannot afford? What next for them?
Okay, thank you so much. That's why we are coming up as psychiatric specialists. We need to go back to our community. And I'm really calling upon all those who have that know-how. Let us help our people. Let us help our community. This is where, like last time what I said, that this is where we belong. We cannot just leave our people suffer, and we have that knowledge. We have public facilities where we offer those facilities, and even in some private facilities, I think there are some with lower prices. But again, we are recommending all those mental health specialists. Let us come up and assist our families assist our community. We should be able to give back to the community. And we should do it now differently. Apart from waiting for the clients to come to the hospitals, let us look for them. You can go to the churches, we can go to schools, and at least we try to minimize these problems that we have.
Now that you've made a clarion call to them to look for you, give them your contacts where they can reach you on that camera.
Okay. My contact is 0721 233 187. Or you can use 0740 85 9961. I also have an email, mentalhealthwithliz@gmail.com.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for that very knowledgeable discussion you've taken us through. And it is very, very encouraging that you as a parent and as a medical personnel, you've come here to shed more light on this topic and to help parents out there identify childhood trauma symptoms in their children and know that the place where the problem starts, you should nab the leaf in the bud or the branch in the bud, something of that sort. That has slipped me right there. My director tells me it's time to take another break. We'll be back with more.
Karibu sana mpenzi mtazamaji kwenye mitindo ya kipwani. Kipindi ambacho kinahusu utamaduni wa kipwani. Hapa niko pwani. Hapa niko Watamu. Nitakuwa nakupa mambo matamu leo kwenye mitindo ya kipwani, kipindi ambacho kinahusu mambo yetu ya Uswahilini. Ndio maana nikazuru mkoa wa Pwani, niko kaunti ya Kilifi, kijiji kinachofahamika kama Magofu. Haya yote ni kwa udhamini wa Safina Beach Hotel ambao wamenileta hapa nikaweze kutangamana na wakazi. Na ilioje mpenzi mtazamaji, tutakuwa tunapata mambo mengi sana kama vile dance. Kwa hivyo naomba tu kaweze kunipa jicho lako. Mambo yatakuwa ni babu kubwa kabisa.
Ziko dance ambazo tunacheza wakati wa harusi. Kuna wakati wa matanga. Kuna wakati wa mavuno.
Tunaangazia jinsi ambavyo wewe unaweza kutumia nafasi finyu ambayo unayo nyumbani ili kuendeleza kilimo.
Imeniokoa space kubwa juu ukiweka kama nini moja inaweza chukua 80 to 100 plants. Huku umepanda vizuri na space ni mzuri.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more only on Law Matters.
Right, welcome back. We carry on with some international news where former U.S. President Donald Trump's first wife, Ivana Trump, has passed away at the age of 73. The former president said on his social media platform Truth Social that his late wife was a wonderful woman who led a great inspirational life. According to police sources, Ivana was found unconscious and unresponsive at the bottom of a set of stairs in her apartment and pronounced dead at the scene. Police believe the cause of her death may be accidental, and investigations are ongoing to determine whether she fell, and if so, whether the fall in any way contributed to her death. Well, now, there are many reasons to want a guard dog: for personal protection, to keep your property safe, or as a living doorbell when a visitor arrives. Unfortunately, guard dogs often get a bad reputation for being vicious or dangerous, but that's not entirely accurate. In reality, the very same traits that make these breeds the best protectors also make them incredible family pets. Our reporter Samson Jura takes us through the world of protection and guard dog training with Wax Canine Academy.
Sunday, 13th June 2022, Kandisi, Ongata-Rongai, Kajiado County. The woman seen on the CCTV footage being attacked by 6 men armed to the teeth as she drives into her compound will forever have in her memory a time she once was fear-stricken and in total shock etched in her mind. This is just one of many incidents reported in the media of home invasion, burglary, carjacking, and kidnappings. In many cases, people have been killed or acquired life-changing injuries.
Okay, guys, watch him.
Dog training is now commonplace in many parts of the world. Not only are dogs trained to be obedient and well-behaved, they can also be trained for personal protection and guard work. According to Oscar Ochieng Wakuloba, owner of Utawala-based Wax Canine Academy, a fully trained canine would neutralize the threat posed by robbers as seen in the Rongai video.
Good boy, finish him. House.
Oscar is a dog breeder, protection, guard work, anti-carjacking, and sniffer dog trainer certified by the East African Kennel Club. He has worked with dogs for years, helping people feel safe while acquiring a companion. Today we are going to talk about what it takes to achieve the ideal protection dog.
So the working line selection, it starts from the breeding. You choose a working line male, you choose a working line female, you breed the two. But behind the breeding, you must know what you are putting into the gene pool, what you are putting in the offspring. If you are breeding a working line dog, then you should know, like this is a pedigree certificate from the East African Kennel Club. You should know what you are breeding what. For here, we have just as an example, Kilele Hobby is a shoreline dog, but the genetics of that dog are very strong in terms of protection. So when it was bred to this other beach, which is mine, which has both the working line and shoreline, they produced big, aggressive, and stable temperament, and dogs with good nerves of protection. Now, identification of a proper protection dog, when it starts from puppyhood, because you can also do a selection when they are adults. When you start from, you're talking about from puppyhood, you're supposed to check to look at the nerves of the dog. And with the nerves of the dog, you must look at the parents. Everything starts from the parents and the grandparents and the great-grandparents. Now, you look at the nerves of the parents, which will be reflected in the puppies. You look at, and with nerves, you're talking about two things. It's either having stable nerves or unstable nerves. Then you also look at the temperament of the dog. Temperament simply means the general well-being of the dog. There the dog thinks, there the dog behaves in front of people, kind of things. Then you also look at I've spoken about nerves, temperament, and the drives. So with the drives, there are different drives. So like if you are choosing a protection dog, a protection candidate, that is from puppyhood, then you're looking at a dog which has, in terms of drives, a dog which has what you call the fight drive, then a dog which has a good defense drive, a dog which has stable nerves. And there's a way of testing which you're going to demonstrate here with the puppies that you have here from the pedigree lines.
Some of the dog breeds used for protection and guard work around the world include the German Shepherd dog that has gained popularity over the years in the African continent, the Belgian Malinois, the Doberman Pinscher, the Rottweiler, and the South African Boer Bull, just to name a few. These breeds are also used by the military and police for search and rescue operations. Majorly, they are referred to as the canine units. These are Bobel puppies that in a couple of months will begin training for obedience, protection, and guard work. Oscar has begun socializing them with his kids and subjecting them to everyday noises and environment to achieve stability. These dogs have to get along with other family members to whom they protect, just like Bishop, Oscar's family Boer Bull, who is twice the size of his son.
So this boy here, he's 1 year, 7 months old. He's called Bishop. Bishop is our own bred Boer Bull. So this is my son Shmaya. Shmaya can handle this dog. But when the need arises, the same dog will be able to protect him or myself. Yeah. You see, the handling is very easy, without any issue. The dog is not nervous. Yeah? It's very okay with him.
Here is Bishop in action. This is a bite suit used to train dogs on bite work by demonstrating scenarios of attacks by criminals. A dog only attacks on command. Here we see how Stipe, a GSD, reacts during a carjacking scenario.
Watch him, boy. Kid boy, finish him.
Now, I wanted to understand how the work of protection dogs, training of protection dogs is done. And because of security reasons and, of course, safety, I've done this suit which weighs around half my size. And I'm going to be attacked by a German Shepherd so that you can be able to see how this works. Of course, my heart is racing, but let's see how it goes.
Other tools and equipment used in teaching obedience include an electric collar used to send vibration and stimulations to achieve the correction and obedience desired, a prong collar used for aggressive dogs, a leash, a bite sleeve, a whip, a sausage bite tag, ball and latex Kong. It's only with the right equipment that one can achieve the ideal protection dog. Oscar advises that it is costly to maintain a dog, though this is based on breed of choice. But the question remains, how much do you value your security?
So training for Boer Bulls and Rottweilers, we charge from 50K depending on the level of training. So by the time the dog lives here and is ready to work in your compound or work as a personal protection dog, then you're looking at, on the lower side, if it's a Boer Bull or a Rottweiler, you're looking at 150, 170. Yeah, that is depending on the level of training that will have been put into that dog.
In a world of order, owning a weapon may not be the best idea for protecting oneself and family, but some experts say the best line of protection for you, your family and property has 4 legs and a tail. Samson Jura, KUTV.
Elsewhere in sports now, siblings Muqtadir Niji and Kalika Niji will fly the Kenyan flag in Birmingham during the Commonwealth Games. The team is under the tutelage of coach Prince Mukuya Jr., who is assisted by Gakuo Ndirangu. A senior sports journalist Stanley Nyaringita has more.
With just 12 days left to the Commonwealth Games, the dream of playing in Birmingham is now shaped to reality for siblings Muqtadir Nimji and Kalika Nimji, who will be representing Kenya for the squash duty. Kalika has played at 3 Commonwealth Games, starting with the 2010 Commonwealth Games in New Delhi while 12 years old. She says the training has been intense since the beginning of the year. Her brother, on the other hand, has been sharpening his skills in Birmingham with the best in the game.
My brother Muqtadir, since he's playing already in Birmingham, he's playing with the world-class athletes, training with them every day. So I think his level has gone up quite a lot. For us here, we've also been playing with each other. I've had the opportunity to train with the men, so I think that's also upped my game quite a bit.
The team is under the tutelage of Zambian-born former Kenyan #1 squash player Prince Mukuka Jr. and Gakuo Ndirangu. Mukuka is optimistic of good performances and stresses that the players need exposure.
The difference that I see is that my players basically need to be exposed. That is the only way they can get to another level. During my time, we used to travel to so many countries, and we used to play so many tournaments within Kenya, not just at Parklands. We also used to go to Mombasa, Kisumu, and Nakuru as well.
The team will be wrapping things up at the training camp in Moi Sports Center, Kasarani, before flying to Birmingham for the Games, which will tip off on the 28th of July to the 8th of August 2022. Stanley Nyaringita, KUTV Sports.
For those who are hoping to break more sweat in the sports segment, Stanley Nyaringita has you covered tomorrow on the Spot. Make sure to tune in to that particular show and get your sports pill. We come to the end of the broadcast at that point. I've been in the company of Paul Wakoli, our sign language interpreter, and I go by the name Daphne Orina. Have yourself a good night and a great weekend.
Driving and riding without incidences on the road is such an amazing experience. But do you know while many road traffic crashes are avoidable, human behavior continues to be the leading cause. Speeding, lane indiscipline, drunk driving, distracted driving, failure to wear a helmet, and failure to use available pedestrian ways have been flagged by NTSA as the fatal 6 behaviors likely to lead to a fatal crash and serious injuries. As part of the Usalama Barabarani campaign, we request all road users to prevent these fatal 6 behaviors for their own safety and that of others. When driving, ensure your speed is within the stipulated limits, the road ahead is clear before overtaking, stick to your lane, keep left unless carefully overtaking. You're well rested if driving on long distances, and you never drink and drive.